Hey guys, it's Music Ninja Matt here. I want to talk about the Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them film, my kind of impressions before the film and after it, and also want to talk about The Cursed Child as well. So it's a very Harry Potter centric video. So let's start with the movie. So obviously straight up, the trailers and everything drops, the news drops, and I wasn't as excited as I thought I would be, simply because it's great we're getting to return to this world. J.K. Rowling's writing the screenplay, so she's going to build on everything, but at the same time I was a little bit like, it's not Harry, so I'm not that fussed. Obviously a lot of people were like, oh, so it's based on that comic relief book, but it's not a book, it's more of a fact file. But yeah, it's based on Newt Scamander and his journey as he writes the book Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, so that's quite a cool concept. Obviously, we get these connections in the trailer, so like Dumbledore's name is mentioned, and I also like how the music used in the trailer is a variant on the Harry Potter theme. I thought that was really cool. There was a Comic-Con trailer that dropped, and we got to see stuff like House Elves, which was cool. It built on the story a bit more of it's set in New York, and it's the idea that the creatures have escaped, and that's, a big part of the story. And I thought, as far as the way both the creatures and the spells looked, I thought it all looked fantastic. And in the final trailer we saw him make friends with a muggle, so we knew we were going to get that aspect and that character in there as well. Ezra Miller was in that trailer, so I was like, I didn't know he was in these movies, but okay. And we also got a mention of Grindelwald, and I was like, okay. So again, a throwback to the Harry Potter stories and building on the universe. So that's what I thought of the trailers. Now we're going to talk about the film itself. I was fairly excited. The closer it got to the film, the more excited I got. I must say, for me, the film started slow, but that's mainly because I'm sat and I'm getting used to new characters and new surroundings. Overall, the film felt so much darker than the Harry Potter series. Like, the Harry Potter series gradually got darker, but with this we had, like, the witch hunting family, and there was child abuse and violence in there, and all this kind of stuff that made your stomach turn a little bit. On the flip side, we got some really nice comedy moments, especially with our muggle character Jacob, who really is kind of the comic relief. He's a muggle reacting to all this crazy stuff that's happening around him. I thought it was interesting, this whole new concept we had with witches and wizards that repress their powers, and then it spawned all these theories about, well, why wasn't Harry suffering the same way that, Ezra Miller's character was? It just spawned a lot of interest and stuff, really good ideas. Ezra Miller's character, had such an interesting arc in this story. We weren't quite sure what he was or who he was. He was the big twist. And I also find it kind of dark where his character basically got blown to bits at the end. It was like, oh shit. So they didn't get a chance to save the day, but then we just saw kind of a little piece of him. So maybe he survived, maybe he didn't. One thing I found confusing is it's always noted that Grindelwald was taken down by Dumbledore, but obviously Grindelwald is in this film and we see him get taken away, so I'm interested at what point in the timeline this is. Like, is he gonna escape again and then Dumbledore takes him down? Has Dumbledore already taken him down and this is him escaping? Also found it crazy that they used Johnny Depp for a few seconds. I'm assuming Grindelwald will come back and be a big threat in the movies. We got some Hogwarts references as well, which is always nice. Newt went to that school and he was expelled. He feels a lot like a Hagrid-esque character, apart from the fact that he's allowed to use magic whenever the hell he wants, and Hagrid wasn't, so that's odd. Overall, I just really enjoyed seeing a lot of the new creatures that we've heard about in the books, we've heard about in the films, we've seen in some of the video games, but now we're getting to see them on screen. It was just, for me, overall, the film was a complete shift in tone from the Harry Potters, with the way it looked and the music used. I mean, for one, it's set in America and not in Britain, so there's that change anyway, so maybe that was it. I also found it interesting that Ezra's character was given the Deathly Hallows necklace. That's Percival Graves, but not Percival Graves because he's Grindelwald, so maybe it was Grindelwald's necklace. We get that slight part at the ending where we don't know if Jacob can remember any of it, because he finally opens up his bakery and all of his baked goods are in the shape of the beasts that he's met. And then he kind of smiles at the end, and we're a bit like, does he remember, doesn't he? I think it's quite an interesting kind of concept. Well, I don't know if it was just me either, but there's wizards walking around in the rain that's coming down, which is washing all the muggles' memories away. You know, they're fixing buildings and everything. Shouldn't those wizards be being affected as well? I'm not too sure about that. And there was a lot that felt very convenient in this film, like, oh, it's lucky all these things align perfectly to fix everything. All in all, I did enjoy the film. It felt very different to the Harry Potter films, but it's its own thing, and I enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to the other films that are coming up. Finally, I want to talk about The Cursed Child. I got this, I read it in about a day or two, and I thought it was very interesting for a lot of reasons, because I've heard such mixed reviews from people on what they think of the book. So I enjoyed the book because to me it felt refreshing. We got to see how our original characters had grown as well. And overall I just enjoyed the story. Straight away I kind of have to say, the thing with most people is you had the Harry Potter books, which were books, they were stories. This is a play, so it reads very differently. And a lot of the events are very different because everything that happens in this book has to be able to happen on stage, and you need to keep that in mind when you're reading this book. Obviously, we have Scorpius and Albus, Malfoy's son, and Harry's son are our two main characters. To me personally, I thought the characters were going to end up getting together in the end because it felt like it was so heavily implied throughout this book. They don't, because Scorpius actually has a crush on Rose, who is Ron's daughter. I liked how the characters were written. I liked how Ron's this big comic relief, and Ron's just there and just content. And Harry, he's struggling with having kids and with being, a big shot at the Ministry. And it's weird to see our hero this vulnerable. We have, obviously, Hermione's Minister for Magic, and it's interesting to see where our characters ended up. The twist of this book was crazy. I'll touch on it a bit later on. We have Amos Diggory, who is blaming Harry for Cedric's death, which is a big thing and obviously is really going to affect Harry. And we get introduced to Delphi, who is taking care of Amos, and both Scorpius and Albus, sort of become friends with her, and you think fair enough. And there's a lot of moments that are quite deep and hard-hitting and real in this book. We have Scorpius is rumoured to be Voldemort's son. The idea that I think it was that Malfoy couldn't have children, and so Voldemort is Scorpius's dad, and that's why a lot of people look down on Scorpius. But I like the fact that Albus and Scorpius get on because Albus was put in Slytherin and he's looked down on as a Potter, so I also just really like Draco's arc in this, where he's going through a lot, and he goes from just being the kind of miserable, dark villain to really standing with our heroes, which I really liked. I thought the overall relationship between Harry and Albus was nuts, like how they scream and shout at each other, and it's this very real kind of parent-kid relationship there. I like how time turners are addressed as well, because they've always been a massive plot hole, and this story shows you more and more why it's a bad idea to use them, which is great, really, for showing why they don't just use them all the time. One thing I always like, though, they go back in time and try and change various things, and in every timeline, Hermione and Ron are supposed to end up together. And I think after the whole J.K. Rowling came out and said she wasn't sure if she should have put them together at the end of the Harry Potter series, it's nice that it's reaffirmed here. We also just have some fantastic talks between Harry and Dumbledore Dumbledore's portrait, and it's great because it's a grown-up Harry having very grown-up talks with Dumbledore. I also love how we get to see Snape and Cedric, like all these old characters that have died that we miss, that we get to go back and see one last time. Obviously, the big twist is that Delphi is actually Voldemort's daughter, and she goes back in time and she wants to, she wants to basically save her father. The twists and turns in this are so well done, and I think one of the reasons I really love it is Harry's there at his parents' death, and it just feels like this weird full circle thing, where Harry just kind of stands, and that moment that changed his life forever, he actually gets to stand there and be a part of it and witness it while he can remember it. But there are points as well where you kind of have to feel for Delphi, like she wants to stop Voldemort because she wants him to survive, she wants her father to survive. I think it says she's born around 1997, which is when the final battle at Hogwarts would have taken place. Naturally, we get a big final fight. It all takes place in Godric's Hollow, and it's weird because it's a new situation, yet a very familiar feeling one. And then the story ends with Harry at Cedric's grave, and he's with Albus, and the two just have this new understanding. And it feels like our characters just grow and go through so much in this story. And to me, like, I think once you've accepted the format it's written in, you will really enjoy it. And it does become very hard-hitting and a nice chapter in the Harry Potter saga. But anyway, guys, that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. It really helps the channel out. If you go down below, there's competition news, there's links to Facebook and Twitter, all that good kind of stuff. So I will see you in the next one, guys. See you later.